Lonnie and Kai. Welcome to the CoronaMama Zoom Room.
Hey, Angeline, thanks for having us.
What do you think that people are thinking in the younger age groups?
It's kind of mixed, but mostly from my experience, people kind of are just like, whatever, like, we'll just brush it off and kind of do our thing. Like, you know, when it was first happening, like, I kind of felt the same way too. I was like, yeah, like, I don't know, like, it's so far away from us right now, and I can't really see this affecting my life personally, but look where that ended up. You know, we both got it, so it's very ironic in that sense, but the general consensus, I would say, is not, you know, we're not really taking it super seriously because it doesn't affect us, you know, a lot. Because I was, like, when this first started, I was kind of a little sick, and I was like, oh, is this COVID? Like, and I got it, but so I didn't test and wasn't sure if I was actually sick with it, but, you know, I wasn't that sick, and I was figuring it was COVID, and so I'm like, oh, well, it doesn't affect me that bad, you know, like, I'm not sick at all. But, you know, then I started realizing that if I had gone out, you know, I didn't go out, thank God, but if I had gone out and given it to somebody, you know, that was elderly or had underlying conditions, you know, their family could have been affected for the rest of their life. That person could have died, that person could have passed it to 7 other people, you know. So my personal consensus is that it's, you know, it's pretty serious because I ended up getting it and now I know it's, like, real. So, and my biggest concern is that I just don't want to spread it to other people. But I think the young people of the community should realize, you know, and maybe not, like, you know, I'm not one to tell people to just, like, don't do this or live your life this way, you know, because everybody has a right to do what they want, and that's totally fine. But at the same time, you know, I think we're all, you know, all the good-hearted human beings out there, which is more than a lot of people would think, you know, should take those steps to kind of be more cautious and have other people in mind when they go out to do things, or, like, when they go to a party or whatnot, you know, like, just be safe. That's all it is. But I think young people need to realize that more.
Tell me why you both feel like transparency is really important right now.
I think it's important because, you know, when you're dealing with something like this, you know, like, you gotta think of, like, the golden rule, you know, like, treat yourself how others want to be treated, in the sense that, like, if you feel sick and you go out and hang out with your friends and then they get sick and you say nothing, you know, then they're left in the dark. First off, you weren't being responsible, and second off, like, now this other person has this huge burden on their hands, you know, and they don't even know. Like, they might, you know, of course it's upsetting, but at the same time, like, we're all in this together because we're all part of this community, like, especially on Maui, because everybody's so tight, you know what I mean? So it's like, we want to make sure we can look out for each other. So if that person, you know, had just been transparent and taken that responsibility, like saying, like, hey, I have COVID, and following the proper steps, you know what I'm saying? Then it can eliminate all that unneeded, like, worry, stress, and then, you know, possible injury and damage to people's lives. So I think it's really important just to be, like, as open as you can about it, you know what I mean? Like, and even in a sense too, like, if you're, because I know it might not, especially for kids my age, like, it might not be cool to, like, not go to the party, or, like, not, you know, like, oh, we're gonna go camping with, like, 10, 20 people, whatever, like, you should come, it's no big deal. And you're like, okay, yeah, like, you know, they might decide to go, but, you know, they, like, if they're wearing a mask and whatever, like, they might be like, oh, like, why are you wearing a mask or whatever? And, you know, like, because I'm in, like, a sketchy environment, you know what I mean? Like, it's okay to do the right thing, you know what I'm saying? Especially in this time, because, you know, it's not about, like, you got to think to yourself, like, is that one thing worth it to end up with, like, possibly a lifetime of all this stuff, you know, like the damage to the family, or, you know, your own shame. You could bring your own shame, because if you're sick and go or whatever, or somebody else is sick and go, then they're going to be living with that for, like, the rest of their life because they acted kind of immaturely or, you know, improperly.
Kai, do you want to tell us about your experience? And then Lonnie, you can tell us about your experience of what happened.
Yeah.
Well, we'll start back in Oahu because that's where I live. I just finished school, so I live with my 2 roommates over there. When this all happened, we all got laid off. So my 2 roommates and then my one other really close friend, we were all just hanging out a lot, you know, and we were already in close contact before. So I feel like that wasn't too big of an issue, but.
And you guys are in your 20s?
Yeah, we're 20. I'm 20 and my 2 roommates and friend are 21. So,
Okay.
so yeah, we're like just out of college. We're all kind of just working right now and stuff like that. So kind of like bachelor lifestyle a little bit.
Fun.
Yeah, super fun. So when the thing first happened, we all got kind of laid off and we're all just surfing a lot and whatever. Like we're just going to the beach and kind of hanging out. Like we did take it seriously though. Like I remember my one roommate was like, "Oh, we should like Bethany's having dinner tonight with like 5, 6 people," and I was like, like I don't know if I want to go, you know. So I didn't end up going. Like I was like, I'm kind of just like it's not. I mean, it was a nice excuse to get out of going to dinner. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, you know, it's like I'm kind of trying to think about it. Like I don't really want to catch it just yet, like this early. But anyway, so my one friend, we were all hanging out, and he starts feeling weird. Like he started kind of getting sick. And then we were like, oh, what's going on with him? Like, and all throughout this, like, we were still in close contact because, as you folks may know, like, you're contagious even before you start to show symptoms. Like, once you catch it, you're already spreading it. So I figured, I was like, if he's sick already, then I'm guaranteed, like, because we were just talking and hanging out, like, driving in the car together and everything. So I ended up kind of staying home and not really doing much. And then I got kind of sniffly, and I was like, oh, this isn't good. But then I ended up taking like a lot of supplements and snapping out of it, and I was fine. And then I was just around him for a long time, so I had thought I got it already. So that ended up fine. We all got better and whatever. Then I fly. So fast forward, fly to Maui. I'm hanging out for a little while. I was here for probably like a week and a half or maybe 2. And then I start feeling sick again. So I'm like, uh-oh, this isn't good. So right when I started feeling sick, I just stayed home. Like I didn't go anywhere. I just stayed on the couch, and I ended up just taking a lot of supplements and like so.
Did you have thoughts of COVID like at that time? Like, oh, maybe this could be.
Yeah, well, I didn't know because prior, you know, when we got sick, I was like I said in the previous conversation, like, oh, it's not that bad. Like I'm not even that sick. You know what I mean? So it might not be bad, but or like assuming that that the context is assuming that it's COVID that I had. So, you know, I'm sick again, but, you know, this time I'm like with my mom, and I had been seeing people, like I was going to the skate park and kind of hanging out and working with my dad and whatnot. So I was like, oh, I better just stay home because this time I got a little more sick. Like I was on the couch laying down, and I was super like really fatigued. That was the most thing that happened to me. Like I was supposed to go and work out in the yard that day with my dad. We're working on a project, and I just felt super tired. Like I couldn't, you know, I mean, I could if I really forced myself, but it just didn't feel like good. You know, I wouldn't have had a good, enjoyable time. And I just had kind of like a head cold, like a little bit of sniffles and congestion, but nothing major. But the main thing was I was just super tired. So that lasted for 2 days. But then in the meantime, I was taking a lot of supplements and vitamin C and whatnot to ensure my health. So after the 2 days, I was totally fine. And meanwhile, I had never had a fever at all. And I was constantly checking myself for a fever to make sure, but I had no fever. And so I was totally fine after the 2 days. And I was like, wow, that's cool, you know? And then that's when my mom ended up having some troubles. So if you want to tell them about that.
So one second. So you had no fever, and were you coughing?
No cough.
Some of those normal symptoms that you hear about?
No fever, no cough, no diarrhea, nothing like that. Like I was just literally like, just felt like the common cold. I was like, oh, I've had this 1,000 times before, you know? So I just took the proper precautions, and it ended up going away. And like, we still can't necessarily say that it was COVID because I got tested after my mom tested positive. So she could have got an outside source, maybe not from me. But my own personal hypothesis is that I had COVID because we were just in such close quarters, you know what I mean? And from something like that. But.
And still it's hard to say because there's so many viruses going around right now that people think that they may have. So really, it is hard to say. And thank you for taking those precautions and just staying home. I mean, that is so responsible of you. Thank you.
Thank God we're all, like, me and my mom are being pretty smart, so we limited, like, the amount of people, like, and, you know, that's really key. So, but, you know, some other people are going to live their life in different ways, so it might affect somebody really greatly. But, you know, I think if you do get it, then definitely be transparent. Like, contact all those people and make sure that they're okay and whatever, and that, you know, because people are going to look out for you. You know, a lot of people have people that care about them, and that's really important. But you have to be you have to be able to open up and put yourself out there in order to receive that help that's going to come to you. You know what I'm saying? So I just think it's really important to try and, I mean, it's not really too complicated. Like if you get COVID, call the people. That's all it is, really. Just be open about it. Like, hey, I have it. Like, contact your people, get tested. Period. Like, let's stop this thing. That's all it's about. That's all you have to do. Like, it's gonna suck, but just do it because you'll feel so much better afterward. Like, you want to live with that lifetime of like, oh, is anybody sick? I don't know. Or you can just get it out of the way in 5 seconds, and then you start from there. You go from there in recovering and building that. Whatever, your life back up. Even if it's outside my circle, like I'm not gonna, most likely just gonna be like, nah, it's okay. Like, I don't really know your friends, or I've never been to your house before or whatever. So I'm just gonna be like, no, it's okay. Cause there's ways to get through it. Like, and a lot of people, I'm not saying like parties are a thing right now, like not a lot of people are partying, but you do see like little guys, like the Baldwin outbreak, there was like a little thing that happened at a rave there. And it's like, okay, why are we having raves in the first place right now? Like it's probably not the best idea. So like, it's not a big thing. And most of the situations realistically are like, you run into a friend at the grocery store, or like you just end up talking to people at the beach or something, like there's just random little interactions and people like want to shake your hand and say, what's up, and give you a hug and whatever. And it's like, dude, like, think about it, right? Like,
I just stick my elbow out.
Yeah,
That's
I do fist bump.
Like, hey.
I just fist bump. I'm like, yo, what's up? And okay, this is another little tidbit. Handshake, greeting people is getting really awkward because I've had so many, like, where you go to do the fist bump and then they want to high five and then you both switch and it's like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that has ever happened to me because now I have to live with, we just did that and it was terrible. So what you do is when you see them and you realize that you are going to have this interaction, you immediately put your fist up like this as fast as you can. So they have at least 5.793645 seconds to
realize,
identify that it's a fist bump and not a hand. Because I have countless terrible, like, oh, I'm going to shake your hand, fist bump, whatever. I don't know. That's just a small thing. But yeah,
but
so if you see someone,
but it's big.
Yeah, no, because seriously, like shaking hands, you touch your face and you have no idea. You're always doing weird stuff and you don't even think about it. So I think fist bumps is a good way to go. So like, you see somebody, just put your hand up right away. Like, yo, what's up, dude? Like super far away, so they get it. They're like, okay, he wants to fist bump. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As far as the quarantine, like I got my PS4, so I'm just playing video games.
All right. I'm
just kind of doing my thing. So it's like a staycation, but it kind of drives you crazy. Like, I think it's good. It's definitely good to have somebody. Like, it's been nice to be with my mom and just, because it would suck if I was by myself. Like, if I was back home, I probably would have had to just lock myself in my room and not see anybody, So it's been good. If you can, try to get a buddy, do not infect them on purpose to be with them. What it made me realize is that it's real and that your actions have serious consequences. And I was personally very lucky that they didn't, affect people in a negative way in my actions, thank God, so. But other than that, just like remember that it's here and it's real and, just take the proper safety precautions.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Okay. Aloha. Bye. Thank you.